Okay, here we are with page 6, the real page 6. Here you'll see on page 7. I thought I was on 6 at the time. Let's jump into this one here. If 1 plus 2i is a root, we know that 1 minus 2i is also a root. If we think about our sums and our products, we know we have the sum of 2 and the product 1 plus 2i times 1 minus 2i gives us 1 plus 2i minus 2i is 0. Minus 4i squared. I squared is negative 1. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So 1 minus negative 4, we went with 5. Which means that came from x squared minus the sums times x plus the product. And this is x cubed, so you got a couple options here. We know we have to have an x to make an x cubed. We know we need to have a 2 to make a 10. Let's make sure the middle value works out. Here's x cubed minus 2x squared plus 5x. And of course, if I need this to be a positive 10, a plus and a plus makes a plus. There's plus 2x squared, gone. There's a minus 4x. That changes that into a 1x. We're good, plus 10. So x squared plus x plus 10. So remaining roots, besides 1 plus 2i, are 1 minus 2i and negative 2. Okay, you also could have went through the long division process there if you wanted to, and you would have come up with x plus 2 again. On to number 30, simplify each of the following, so several parts involved here. All the bases are the same, so when I'm multiplying I add them, that makes it 3 squared over 3 to the negative 2, and negative exponents jump to the top, that's 3 to the 4th, which is 81. Here, be careful, it looks like a cubed root there. Make sure you don't miss that. Let's go inside first, 8 to the bottom, 8 to the top. So I end up with 8 to the 7 over 8 to the 1st, and the cubed root of that. So the cubed root of 8 to the 6th. Well, cubed root, remember, is a 1/3 power. Power to power we multiply, so that's really 8 squared, which is 64. Here, I'm going to change that into x to the 3/4 times x to the 4/5. I need to add them. So 3/4 and 4/5 both have 20 in common. So that's 15 over 20. And of course, we're going to add them, and 16 over 20 for 31 over 20. Here, be careful, it's only the variable that is raised to the power. Okay, so be careful. First off, 2 and 2 cross out. So I have 6. That x is going to go to the bottom. So x to the 4/3 goes down here. X to the 1/3 comes up here and joins with the x to the 2/3. So in my numerator, 2/3 and a 1/3 make a whole. So we have 6x. And here I have x to the 4/3. Dividing like bases, I subtract. 1 minus 4/3 is negative 1/3. That is 6 over x to the 1/3, or 6 over the cubed root of x. Here we have 2 to the negative 2. Well, that's 1 over 2 squared. That's 1/4. This is 1/16. And I'm raising that to the negative 1. Let me scroll down, give myself a little more room. So that 1/4 is really the same as 4 over 16. So 4/16 minus 1/16 is 3/16. And that's the negative 1, so final answer is 16 over 3. Here, power to power we multiply. Or in this case, I see something I like. I'm going to change it from 2/3 and then 1/2 to 1/2 and then 2/3. The reason I'm doing that is because I know the square root of 1/2. That's 8 to the 2/3. And 2/3 is the same thing as 8 to the 1/3 squared. 1/3, 8 to the 1/3 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. Here, we're adding, so I can't cross those 2's out like before, but I can bring the x to the negative 1/3 to the top as a positive 1/3. And of course, divide everything by 2. So that's going to be 3 x to the negative 4/3 plus 1 x to the 5/3. I'll send the 1/3 through, and I get 3x. I'm going to add them. The -1, right? Negative 3/3, plus x to the 6/3, which is squared. So 3 over x plus x squared. And h here, power to power, I want to multiply. So that's 16 to the -1/4 and x to the -4. Well, the 4th root of 16 is 2. So I'm going to think of that as 16 to the 1/4 and then to the -1, x to the -4. So I have 2 to the -1, which is 1/2. X to the -4 also goes to the bottom. So it's 1 over 2x to the 4th. The last problem on this page. Radioactive element has a half-life of 10 days. If 800 grams are present now, how much will remain after 10 days? So the amount, dependent upon time, we'll start with 800. Has a half-life, so it loses 50% or gets multiplied by half. And it only gets cut in half every 10 days, so it's not the time, but it's the time divided by 10. In other words, in 25 days, it's going to get cut in half 2.5 times. So 800 times 1/2 raised to the 2.5. See if this calculator has powers on it. It does not, so let me open up the graphing calculator here. Sorry, this will take a second. Should be somewhere around, I'm guessing, the 160 range. If we're cutting it in half, 2.5 times is 800 to 400 to 200, and then half a time. Not quite 100. So, how you guys doing today while we're waiting for this? Yeah, you guys look great. Thanks for coming out today. Okay, here we go. 800 times 0.5 to the 2.5. 141.42. And don't forget units. That is grams remaining after 25 days. All right, we have page 8 to do yet, and I'll pick that up sometime later. The bell's going to ring here shortly. Until then, happy studying.